What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Boulder Comedy Show podcast. Of course, you know me. I'm the same old G. We have a fantastic show for tonight with the very funny Ben Kronberg. But before we get there, I do want to say big thank you to our presenting sponsor of this show, Terrapin Care Station. As you know, they got the best dope for the best prices. I probably shouldn't call it dope, but what are you going to do? They've got the best weed, the best extracts. Make sure you check them out. They got 5 locations in Colorado. Insta Terrapin is online. Tell them Brent Gill and the Boulder Comedy Show sent you, and let's enjoy this episode with Ben Kronberg. Have you found that more people are more people are willing to come out than you thought, or is it about what you thought? Because for me, it's more than what I thought. Like, I thought that people would be a little apprehensive to go out. But it seems like...
Well, I think it's tapping into the people that are willing to and wanting to go out. And it's justifying those people's choices. Like, we did have to move the show inside a couple times. We left the garage door open, but we kind of, we had to tell people, like, are you okay with this? If you're not okay with this,
you can offer refund.
Refund or switch. We try to switch them to
Sure.
another show.
That's probably smarter. Keep that money.
And also the comedians. Not all the comedians were... wanted to perform inside, but some of them are like, heck yeah, I'll do it.
That's also an interesting thing I found is which comedians are into like, I've never seen so many comics be so picky about their comedy shows now. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, and I've been trying to get John Novosad here because he's right here, and I'm, primarily, luckily, you're in town, and Jordan was in town, and it's nice to be able to freshen up the pot with that. But John's there, but he takes public transportation, and he doesn't really feel safe taking public transportation.
Right.
I think he'd be okay doing the outside show, but doing
just
those things.
The route there and the route back.
Yeah, I'm almost like, well, it might be worth getting him a fucking Uber,
right.
or driving him in a convertible or something.
And like Nancy Norton, when I asked her to do the 11th, she's like, I'll do outdoors, but I won't do indoors unless it's 15 people or less. It's like all these stipulations, and then you have other people like, I don't give a fuck. I'll go anywhere. I'll do whatever show you want me to do.
Yeah, that's why I look to see who's performing inside in Wyoming.
Yeah.
Them,
that's smart, because Wyoming for sure doesn't give a shit. That's no mask country up there. That is COVID doesn't exist country up there. Well, Ben, it's great to have you. I think now's a great time to introduce our guest. We have the very funny and hilarious Ben Kronberg joining us out here on his patio, and I'm so happy to have you here. I've known you for since the beginning of my career, and I'm talking when I was doing it as a freshman in college.
Yep.
I knew you.
School.
Yep, film school.
We went to the same film school.
Yep, CU Boulder. What's up, Boulder Comedy Show? And you've had, you got a half-hour special. You had John Oliver. You've done so many fun shows around. You got a lot of cool credits. And your career, one thing you said to me when I was young that you live by, it seems like at least, is, Brent, you're too comfortable. You're too comfortable. You need to shake it up a bit. And I was too comfortable. And I feel like you always are putting yourself in a different position to grow your career. Now you're producing shows as well.
Hosting a
lot more, which I don't feel like you really ever did when you were living in Denver.
Yeah.
So it's been a pretty sweet run so far. Now we're in quarantine and everything's fucking weird now.
Yeah, I think, but I don't mind the weirdness of it because, I think just the weirdness of doing comedy and coming to terms with the fact that you're doing it is this mind fuck of like, how do you commit, how do you identify, like, are you a poet after you like read poetry and then write your first poem? Or how many poems do you have to write to be considered a poet?
Right.
And, I think it's like, I don't know that anybody, PhDs introduce themselves sometimes as like, I don't know, doctors. But
like Dr. Chris Voth. I'm like, man, you're a doctor of English.
Yeah,
Get out of here.
Doctor of words. I'm a triage nurse of words.
Doctor, my book is sick. Can you, Dr. Voth, can you look at this, please?
Yeah, it's been fun. I think everything, because I never wanted to do it. I never started out. Didn't grow up being like, I want to be a comedian.
Really?
When I went to film school, I was like, I'd made some super 8 films in high school, and I was like, oh, I want to think this seems like the coolest thing to do in college. You know, it seems like the most fun. Watch movies. Like that was always the best part about any school is like movies on Friday or whatever.
Right.
And then I started working in the thing. After college
at the Cage or like for the
I never
film school?
I never worked there. I the only jobs that I really worked there was like dining hall.
Okay.
Dining hall stuff.
I painted dorms in the summer one time.
Oh, how was that?
And it was good until I ate acid when I went to work, and then I was like, "Oh my god, I have to leave." And then I got caught napping in a dorm room, like somewhere in the building, because we were doing Kittredge. We were painting. So we just went to another building and took a nap in an empty dorm room.
Yeah,
that wasn't good.
Yeah, that's where I lived in Kittredge.
Did you really?
Yeah.
No shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, we painted all those dorms, and my boss, God bless his soul, but he was one of the dudes that pronounced it Tasami instead of tsunami. So it was like, so he didn't fire me for being on acid or being found in another room sleeping, but it was definitely weird to get berated by that guy when but interesting. So you worked in the dining hall.
Worked in the dining hall, and I also worked in. It was the main one because like there was like Arnett, there was all the conglomerates, so it was the main one.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and then I worked at the bookstore for a while, or the bookstore that also had the stuff. That was a little boring. It was kind of fun, like to kind of like read while you're working or something like that. But yeah, none of those things made me want to do anything with. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. It was good to do, like to clean up the pots and the pans, to scrape the lasagna stuff that, is really hard to get off. But then after school, I was like, I'm not. Do I move to Los Angeles for film?
Right.
But then I just ended up getting a job, and this was right when I went to film school. Right when they were switching over to non-linear editing, they were going from editing bays
from the Steenbecks in the basement of Old Main.
I all the films that I had made, I had shot on film and edited on film and did all those things and used Pro Tools and stuff. That was probably the most technical thing that I got. But then I got a job that kind of taught me how to use Final Cut Pro.
Gotcha.
And we were just making like corporate web videos for people, and it was fun, and it was a cool job right downtown, and then that got me into doing that stuff. But then I was like, I needed other money because that wasn't like super consistent, and then I started working at bars and restaurants, and I worked at the Park Tavern.
And had you even dabbled in comedy at this point?
No.
Really?
No.
So I want to say this too, before we move too far past film, because now that you said that you had made Super 8s and stuff when you were young, I remember, and I still am, not to stroke you off too much, but the videos you make are so creative and so like, how does he even think to shoot it this way? How does he even think to have what it is? It reminded me a lot of like Stan Brakhage, which was like very experimental stuff, which is why I think probably the film school in Boulder spoke to you so well, because they were very experimental still with actual the medium of film.
Yeah, and who they're featuring and exposing you to.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, that was a thing. I just went to that film school because it was an in-state film school that was an actual film school.
Yeah.
And I had no idea that it was I didn't know really what experimental film was. I'd experienced a little bit in, like Jan Svankmajer, and the Brothers Quay and things like that. Like I'd experienced a little bit of that, but then the real the real juicy experimental stuff with Maya Deren and all those people and Stan Brakhage, where it's like, oh, film can be this. Yeah. And so I think it helped me kind of think about things that like, oh, this is what it is, but then it was like, no, this is what it is. Then I really got into just experimental film, and then I was putting on film shows and trying to keep that alive, like renting films from CU and showing them at the Bug Theater.
Whoa, cool!
Because I had a little thing called Twitching Eye, and it was like a film series where I was able to kind of like, let's watch Window Water Baby moving. Let's
remember that movie. Film. Yes,
and it's like horrific and all these things.
Yeah.
And,
I think I watched that freshman year, like early sophomore year in college, and I was like, Jesus Christ. Yeah.
Did you have Don Yanacito?
I didn't have Don Yan. I had Jay Gluckstern, for my Super 8.
Any Patty Bruck?
No, I had...
Jerry Aronson?
I had Jerry, and then I had... for I had a lot of Barlow, and then I had for like God, he might not have been there when you were there, bald dude, Ernesto. He's now the head of the department. Yeah. So,
what about Bruce Kawen? Did you get any Kawen classes?
No.
He taught the horror class, which was one of the coolest classes
I bet
I ever took.
I was never into horror. I'm still not into horror, but I feel like I missed out by not exploring the process of it.
Yeah,
what a cheap way to make a great movie.
Yeah, and I think the roots of it are very like horror movie itself. Like, on the surface, it's one thing; it's there to scare you or something like that. But intellectuals and academics, when they can break stuff down like they do, or writing books, you kind of realize all the ingredients. You're not just eating bread, taking it for granted. You're like, oh, baking powder. These things, and it got me good with kind of some critical thinking, or like the idea. One of the ideas that I think kind of applies in all of art that they kind of illuminated was the idea of repetition and variation. And thinking about art in terms of repetition and variation, and that's like the editing is sort of like, here's the things that we're repeating and here's the things that are varied, and it works like with music too. Like film is a temporal art, like music is a temporal art. Like it has a beginning, middle, and end, and it has these arcs or whatever it might be.
But within that, you can play massively within that.
Like the chorus is the repetition, but the melody is the
variation. Right. Interesting. I remember one film you did. It's just stuck in my head for so long. It wasn't even a film; it was an Instagram thing. You do a lot with reflections in your films, or like your phone videos, that you make. And I can't remember what it was, but it was. I think you were on the train in New York, and it was through the window. But it was like you were recording a person over there from the reflection of the window, but you could still kind of see through the train. And it's like that kind of stuff where I'm like, that's an eye that I feel like you're kind of born with. You can hone it for sure, but that just thinking like, oh, this is cool, and I feel like that was probably from your film school. So
yeah, probably.
Now
I make Instagrams.
Yeah, film school, Instagram, same fucking thing. Have you ever thought about like trying to make a full like feature-length film or exploring like narratives type stuff?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I definitely had ideas floating around for a long time that I've again thought I've wanted to do, but I haven't done them yet. But I think just like with jokes, right? Like you write things down that maybe you don't use when you write them down, but then you can go back through. And so to me, it's just kind of like not like a creative insurance or something. Just like, I have wanted to, but also, the process of, what I liked about experimental filmmaking or, this first person filmmaking sort of idea was that you don't have to have all the people and all the stuff. You can do the things, and having all the people and all the stuff. Like when I, started to get into more acting when I moved to New York and doing things and being part of like, student films or web series and things like that, and the acting, I really liked that part of it, because I just had to focus on this one part and I could observe everything else and not be in control, because I really don't like deciding things.
Gotcha.
And even though I'm running a show right now, I kind of have to run it in my own way, as far as I don't know. I don't want to be in hyper control, because I know control is just an illusion anyways. It's this thing that, the ego kind of has this thing.
You think that you're in control when reality you're not.
Yeah. And really you have to go with the flow of the unpredictable things that happen to be okay with them. Like if we can only do this, then let it be so, and not like, I don't know, because I also just fighting for certain things has been I don't know, especially creatively.
I bet it can be draining.
Yeah.
Because you see this and you're like, no, this fits.
Yeah.
And then they don't, and you have to fucking justify it.
Yeah.
And then just really doesn't.
But when you get people on board and trusting you in a position like that, I'm sure like I've heard Quentin Tarantino's film sets are really fun, like with, because he loves movies, so he brings that energy to the set, right?
Sure. Yeah.
And what do I love? I don't know what I love, but I love, I love being creative. I just like creativity. So that's, with doing film stuff or even comedy and jokes and doing music, which is how I got started in comedy. I just like these different outlets that I think have more, I don't know, the fulfillment and purpose to them just in and of themselves,
right.
Just in each part of the process, I enjoy, even ideas that, again, never get said on stage. I enjoy that I've had them because it's just a part of the flow,
Right. I think Rick Kearns told me one time, if 10 to 20% of your jokes are successful, you're doing a great job. And I think that the other 80% is what, and he was referring obviously to like what he's submitting to Ron and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But it really, to me, that other 20% or that other 80% is, that's that stimulation that just keeps you work, gold, work, gold, that kind of thing. So because you never know, it could be gold, and then work, gold,
Yep.
work. It could be like that. So now, when you graduated from film school, you moved to Denver. At this point, zero interest in comedy. Are you even watching comedy at this point?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up on comedy for sure, like Andrew Dice Clay and Eddie Murphy and Annie's Evening at the Improv.
Yeah.
And I would definitely, I was aware of comedy, and it probably definitely influenced and had it had planted its seed or made its mark.
How did you find those? Who turned you onto those? Like, did you just stumble upon them?
It was just being TV, like it was whatever was on TV or whatever, whoever is in charge of you at the time, your parents or your brother and sister.
Yeah.
Or, I don't even know how. I probably saw Andrew Dice Clay on A&E's Evening at the Improv. I mean, I would also see the HBO half-hour comedy hours.
Sure.
Things like that. And I really, I loved comedy. And then Mitch Hedberg.
Yeah.
Before I started doing comedy, I was definitely into
I could see him being an influence on you.
I was into him, and I actually went to Comedy Works my 21st birthday. This is before I started comedy, and Rick Kearns was headlining.
Wow.
And Rick Kearns bought me a shot of tequila,
Wow.
It was anybody's birthday, and he bought me a shot of tequila, And I remind him of that story, try to get sentimental with him each time, kind of giving him a little bit of credit and influence for it, So I think it was just these little moments that probably led up to those things, but ultimately it was, going to college, my last semester of college, my mom bought me a guitar because I'd always resented having to grow up and play the piano because it was just sort of like, chopsticks and classical music, and I wanted a guitar.
Probably felt old.
Yeah, it was like, why am I doing this? I want a guitar. And then my mom finally got me a guitar, and I took a lesson, an actual class where the guy was like teaching me how to do the things, and then with that guitar, I would, kind of just make up songs, and I was just doing that on my own. And then 9/11 happens, and then I make this this song called Ballad of the Jihad and this other song called Go to War, and they're very much about these things, the Ballad of the Jihad was the hook or the chorus was like, this can't happen to me.
Wow.
And just the fear, like it playing into my kind of creativity or, something to process this information. And then I, made some songs about going poop or pee or golden showers and things like that, or getting your tubes tied. And then, I tried those songs at this bar that was Garrett, who does a sound at Oriental Theater.
Okay.
He was in charge of this open mic at the Park Tavern.
Okay.
On Tuesdays.
True open mic, like music, comedy, poetry, whatever you want to do.
Music open mic.
Okay.
But then that was when I decided to, because I was working there, and I was like, well, I'm working, but I can probably still do a song. So then that was the first time I performed, was at this bar job where I was like a busboy.
And you're what, like 22, 23 at this point?
Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
Probably.
So you still got in pretty early.
I got in with kind of like performing and starting that creative process. And then somebody at that, I forget who the fuck it was, but they're like, hey man, that was a funny song. You should try that at Comedy Works. And I didn't even put that together.
Interesting.
He's like, yeah, because he's like, I think they have like some sort of,
You're like, I can do that?
Night.
I can go on that stage?
So then I investigated it. I went through the process, had to call a bunch of times before I eventually got on, right?
Yeah.
And it wasn't Deacon at the time. It was this guy, Tim.
Tim, fuck, what was his last name? I remember who it was. No one liked him.
Yeah. And
I heard he was kind of a dick.
And he didn't like me. And he would kind of tell
Tim
me.
O'Shea.
Tim O'Shea.
There it is.
And he
like we're talking. What's his last name? Tim O'Shea.
But he was in charge, and he was like the first sort of gatekeeper that I had ever experienced. And then I was like, this guy telling me like, if you're gonna be doing that stuff, you're never gonna make it, or like he's kind of discouraging me. But my motivation was engaged because of the discouragement.
Right.
I wasn't like, he's right. I was like, fuck this guy. I can
Right.
say whatever I want because what am I doing?
Right. It's a fucking Tuesday night at a Comedy Works. Who cares?
Yeah, and I would get nervous and things and be there, but I kind of pushed through it, and that was when I met like Andrew Orvidal and Matt Conti and all those people, and Harrison was there, and
Matt Vogel, I assume, was doing it then.
Matt Vogel, yeah, and Mike Long and all those people,
Mike Long.
and Greg Baumauer, and I was showing up kind of like with my guitar, and then Harrison had his guitar. He's like, "What are you doing here?" And so
there's only room for one guitar act in this town,
and
you won, by the way.
And true. Well, I don't know about that. I think he's doing pretty good.
He's doing well. He's in renewable energy now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. He's in renewable energy now. Him and Mark Lee.
Oh, Mark Lee.
Mark Lee.
I miss Mark Lee.
Is
he in Hawaii still or something?
No, he's living here in Colorado now. And
does he want to do shows?
No,
he doesn't.
He's done. Chris Charpentier was on the podcast, and Mark Lee got Chris into comedy.
Yep.
And Chris is like, you got to get Mark on the podcast. I'm like, I don't think he wants to do it right now because he doesn't do comedy anymore.
Yeah.
So, but I bet you when his kids get like in their mid-teens that he might have a hair up his ass.
Yeah, do you remember Ryan Lowry?
Oh yeah.
So
from
Ryan
Colorado
Lowry,
Springs.
Yeah, Ryan Lowry and his sister Renee, she comes to a bunch of shows at the Denver Comedy Lounge, and she's
cool.
very supportive. She got me a Big Mac fanny pack.
Nice.
Because she works for a company that owns a couple McDonald's, maybe 3 or 4 McDonald's.
Okay.
And one of the McDonald's that they own is the McDonald's that I went to in high school. That was like my high school lunch McDonald's. And my history with McDonald's, I made kind of one of my early songs was a McRap. McRap, and I shot the video on Super 8.
Yep.
That was the first thing that
cool
I edited.
Video too.
That was the first thing that I edited on. That was like my learning project on this.
On digital editing.
Yeah,
on
Final Cut. Yeah.
Okay.
And so like me and this history with McDonald's, and then whatever. But Ryan came to the show, and I think he might be, hopefully, fingers crossed, maybe wanting to get back up on stage because he was so funny, and he had he just had like a voice, he had a voice and a thing already, and
a solid delivery. It's a slow, intentional delivery. He knows exactly what he's doing.
Yep. Yeah. So it's just the discovery of it and being in the I don't know, just the process of discovering comedy and never, going from not thinking I was ever going to do it. It was, not the furthest thing from my mind. It was probably closer than becoming a lawyer or an archaeologist, like I thought I wanted to be in 4th grade.
Right.
Because of Indiana Jones. But then you realize that archaeology is really boring.
Really boring. Real hot and far away.
But yeah, so then I started doing the new talent night, and then the new talent night led into meeting those people, and there's something that goes on at the Squire. There's Troy Baxley that hosts at the Lions Lair, and then it's like, Troy Baxley and all these things, and so it really got me into it. Like we were lucky to have enough people doing it that were good and set good examples.
You started in a good generation of comedy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there was, and a lot of the people in your group still fucking rocking it.
Yeah.
So that's a good time to have started.
Well, then, and then you don't have an ego starting out, but then you develop it right, and then you get moved up, and you're a little bit more like, all right, I'm cool. I'm a part of the cool group. I got a B set. I got an A set. I'm doing these things, and then it gives you something to work for that luckily people are still working for, you know, like, and excited about.
Yeah.
But then, my relationship with eventually with Comedy Works and all those things kind of goes down. But I think it's just I used to be resentful for it, but without those people without people in your life presenting obstacles, you don't really have anything to push it back against, or you don't have anything to overcome. And
you
I
get
think
comfortable.
Yeah, and you got to overcome it and come to terms with certain realities. And there's people that were never even minutely welcomed at Comedy Works because of whatever,
right.
And then there's other people that were very, they're getting to do this, but I don't get to do this. Like, I've never headlined here, but these guys are headlining here, and all those resentments that, like, now I'm like, especially running shows. Like, I used to be thinking, like, I want to have the set of the night, right?
Yeah.
Because it's you, and it's like, I'm looking to grow this and make this into something. But now what I'm doing is, like, I love not being on a show like I wasn't on the early show, because I kind of like stepping back and actually watching it and enjoying comedy. And I don't want to just be thinking about me and my set the whole time, especially if I'm...
I wish I could adopt that from you.
If I'm running the shows, but then, I mean, I love seeing people do great on the stage that I'm, helping out and running, and I want the shows to be good. And right now it's like, it's very like how, people are coming in on headlining sets not having performed at all.
Right.
And but
I was glad that I had 5 shows. I think I had 5 shows before I did those Saturday shows at the Denver Comedy Lounge, because I was like, I need to get something rolling. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Okay.
No, you did great. It was perfect.
It was very fun. It was very fun. That second show I fucking loved. It's weird, It's weird when you have to come back and you're like, well, I'm gonna have to do some old material just because I have to.
Oh yeah.
And then I've got like 10 friends that have seen a lot of my comedy. Like, fuck.
Yeah, but then you're there yelling out jokes like they want to hear the baby
great.
joke.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think these are different times, and with me, like with hosting, it gets me out of just my jokes. I definitely bring in my jokes and find things, but my hosting set is definitely a little bit different as far as, I kind of like that because it allows me to kind of just play with ideas more than like I got to go over my jokes. But I'm still bringing in jokes because I know you always have to remember, like, I mean, for me anyway, like most of these people haven't heard these jokes,
Of course.
Like,
I tell myself
if I
that
hadn't
in
heard
Boulder
this
all
joke
the
in
time.
5 years, they definitely haven't.
Right, exactly. Exactly.
And then there's some other, like, I've noticed some jokes happening nowadays, which back in the day I would have been probably more bent out of shape about it, but some jokes like that I had literally that some other comedians I've seen, like, them do some jokes that are pretty much
very
that same
similar,
that same joke, like DNA sort of thing.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I don't care. I haven't really told that joke in a while, and
I'm fine with leaving it.
What's the point? You know, like, who cares? Like, I don't, holding your ideas precious and like coveting them is like what makes the, I don't know.
There is something to be said about the fact that we all live very comparable lives.
Yeah.
Like, granted, even if like it's not really, our minds are trained kind of the same way.
Yeah.
I remember I had a joke, and it was it was about farting during a blowjob, which is a real thing that happened, and my joke is 99% true. The punchline is the only part that's made up.
Yeah.
And then I do the joke at the Grolix show, and I was so pumped to debut this fucking 6-minute story about, this whole incident. And then I get off stage, and I can't remember who it was, but one of the comics was like, that's a Ben Roy joke. I'm like, what? And like, it's Ben's show. And I'm like, oh my God. And I go, and I'm like, which joke is it? And I go and I talk to Ben about it, and he's like, oh, no, I mean, whatever. It is what it is. It happens. It's similar thought. And then he goes, but wait, did you actually fart? And I was like, yes. And he goes, oh, man, brutal. I made that part up. And I was like, well, you can't make up the best part of the story. So, and he was like that, too. He's like, haven't done it. It was on his, like, first album or something. Okay. He's like, haven't done it forever. Who cares? It is what it is. Yeah. Stuff happens. People have comparable instances. It's like the Louis C.K. Dane Cook beef. similar thinking creates similar jokes sometimes.
Yeah, and like with music too, and I think it happens way more in music, right? Like chord progressions and different things. It's like, oh, this Sublime song sounds like this Beatles song,
right?
You know, and it's like, well, they were listening to the Beatles. Why would it not?
Why would I have a little bit of influence?
You know, yeah. Why would I not occasionally incarnate Troy Baxley with a thing, right? Or
I looked up to him. Why wouldn't? How would he not influence me a little bit?
Yeah,
kind of like Mitch Hedberg with you. Like how would I see a lot of that in your, ability to have a joke and let it, just marinate, which is my fucking favorite. I just love watching the crowd just pop, 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 and then the whole crowd's there because they finally got it, because it was either a wordplay or a super clever joke or something like that they like. Did he mean what he just said? And you're just like, I did. I sure did.
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't know if I think my jokes are getting less clever, or I'm trying to. I'm not as tied to like figuring out the clever thing. Not that I don't, but
is that intentional? You think? Is that a reaction to?
Well, it's just like
something?
I'm more even in regular sets, not all hosting aside. Like I'm a little bit more trying to be conversational and in the moment with observations, and then trying to figure out a way to. Now I can bring in an older idea that I've had that fits in with this, and sometimes that works and triggers, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah.
But it's just the repetitions that you do. It's like, oh, I've said this type of joke. Like I do these jokes when I'm hosting and we're outside and a car drives by or an ambulance or a siren drives by, or there's people louder in there, and I'm like, oh, it's always a good sign when the car driving by is louder than the laughter,
Right.
So I have this thing that I kind of can work with off of sounds to kind of talk about the thing, or when it comes to like a joke, when I don't land, when a joke doesn't land or something, then that gives me the opportunity to say like, oh, you guys think you write better jokes than me, kind of a little confrontation with the audience and being interactive, right?
Yeah.
Like the clapping jokes to kind of create the, clap your hands if you've ever, made love to the person that you say you love, but you were closing your eyes. Clap your hands if you didn't clap your hands because you're sitting next to that
person right now. Yeah.
Like putting people in those little dilemmas of choice. So I kind of like those things. And some jokes I'm like, trying to think of quarantine jokes to be, talk about
what's happening now.
Yeah, what's happening now, and trying to be clever with those things, because it's like, especially things that multiple people are mining those ideas, like what's going to be my take on it,
right.
But I like that challenge.
Yeah.
But I'm also like, putting on the shows, I'm just like thinking about like I want this show to be good. Who am I going to get to open up? And I know the owners of the place are kind of watching too, so I want the whole show to be good. And
right.
So I've definitely throttled back a lot of the things that I would have taken chances on shows that aren't mine, right?
Sure.
Things that I would have said because it's just me doing it.
Right.
But now that I'm running this show and representing it,
it's like, this is my show. I'll do whatever the hell I want to do.
Well, but I'm also like a little bit more aware and not necessarily, I'm not looking to twist the wrong nipple and burn bridges, but it's happened with me throughout my career of people not getting it, Yelp reviews of a Comedy Works style shows, Roseanne review, all these things of like,
Nick, you should throw in a clip of the Roseanne thing.
I can't even find that.
Really?
There's stories about it, like there's a story on Nerdist about it, but none of the footage is there, and I kind of regret not
grabbing it when you had
it. Yeah. But I still have all the artifacts of the memes of the Go Fuck Yourself Ben videos and things like that floating around, which is, it's kind of a fun time. And that's my, even though other things I'm more proud of for sure, that's the one thing that people typically want to ask me about that I think helped, it helped me be, I don't know, people, it hurt. Not every comedian knows about it, but during the time, a lot of people heard about it, and it was a thing, and we can all just hope for a couple things.
Hey, you know what? It's the couple things that pile on, and after a while, it's you look back, you're like, holy shit, that couple things is a lot of stuff now. and that's what gets your name out there.
Yeah,
you know?
and the name, and I'm not right now. I'm definitely not looking to travel or tour. Not that you can, per se.
Dude, that's when and I won't say his name, and I don't know why he was in town. I just assumed. But the one comic from the Bay Area that was on the show on Saturday, I was like, why are you here? Like, because there's not a lot of work to be had. And you know. You're not working. Like, I'll come to Denver because I'm from here and I can get good work here.
Yeah.
I'm not going to fucking Salt Lake City or just, Austin to just go do a couple sets here and there.
Yeah.
I just, now's not the time for that, I don't think. But
well, I think people are coming here from those places just because they're like,
it's on fire.
It's on fire. So, but yeah, it was good. I mean, with those things happening, it's nice to get like new people on the show and to keep the variety going and different voices, because I think it's the comedy that happens insularly in a region or in a scene. There's different voices and uniqueness that's happening, but there's still kind of a collective vibe of it.
Yep.
I think just having somebody come in from a different scene and that shift in perspective is just
that's a good point.
It's a nice
smart.
variety.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
And
I should adopt that a little more often for my featuring acts, more so than I do. Because for me, it's like out of state headline. Let's do this if you can, and if not, if I don't know who you are, you don't come referenced, then I'm like, we're full.
Yeah.
I'm not the best at. I'm good at choosing my comics, but I'm also not the best at turning people down. It's a lot of like no response type stuff.
I know. Yeah, it's hard to be direct.
It's
definitely hard to be direct, but there's
So we kind of jumped ahead through a chunk of your career, but you were in Denver doing. So you grew up here in Colorado, correct?
Yeah.
So
I spent 30 years of my life here.
And then you moved to LA first.
Yeah, I moved to LA for like 2 years.
What brought you there? Like, was there a reason? Were you just looking for a change? Were you comfortable?
Well, I'd gotten, in 2005, I won the Comedy Works contest.
The contest, which that tape I believe is still on the internet.
Probably.
Mohawk.
Yeah, a little
guitar.
Bit, yeah, a little thing.
Great song. Yeah.
So that, and then got into the Aspen Comedy Festival 2007, and that was the last year that they had that festival.
Yeah.
Like it kind of dissolved after that. But from getting into the Aspen Comedy Festival, I got management through like they kind of approached me, like they do a lot of head hunting before, like I'm like, I'm going to this thing to meet all the agents and all the people, but they're like hitting people up before, wanting to get you even before you're at this festival.
Gotcha.
And so I got on with this, a really like a reputable management company, and they were kind of like, well, you can go to LA or New York, but we can help you more in those places than in Colorado.
Sure.
I decided to go to LA because I had some family there. My aunt and uncle live in Orange County.
Oh, okay, cool.
So I was able to have like a little bit of support system, and I just decided to do it because I was like, fuck, why not? Like let's just explore this. And I'm there for 2 years and got some cool.
Did you like it?
Had some cool things. I liked a lot of it. Yeah, it was, and I never left because I didn't like it.
Okay.
And I still like LA, especially for the food, for sure.
Lifestyle or comedy? Like, did you like the lifestyle?
I was living alone for a bit in Koreatown and doing it on my own, scooting around. My scooter gets stolen. I'm riding my bike. I don't have a car. I liked it. It was really fun because I got to audition and put writing submission packets for all these crazy shows that I never thought, like, just because, like, oh, you tell jokes, here, try to write for the Colbert Report or something like that. And I wasn't like wanting to be a writer. I was wanting to be a performer.
Right.
But they want you to get on a TV show, the agents and managers,
so they can make money off of your
residuals.
Right.
They don't care about you getting in movies, and they don't care about you performing on stage. Those are the two things that I kind of wanted to do.
Oh, really? So they because I would have assumed that they still make a good amount of money off of your performances, but they're making more money off of the.
Yeah, they don't really. I mean, unless you're a bigger name and doing those things where you have these other credits, like if you even if you're whatever, like I had a talk with Dana Gould once, and he told me this story about he was on their similar trajectory as Jerry Seinfeld, right? He was one of the people that was featured on Annie's Evening at the Improv, and he was super funny, but then he got the opportunity to write for The Simpsons. And then, when I saw him, it was after his stint writing for The Simpsons.
For a long time. Wasn't he there for like 12, 13 plus years?
And then he's at Comedy Works one night and basically telling stories of like, he's known in the comedy world, but he's not like somebody that people are like, oh, Dana Gould.
Right.
So he still has to perform at comedy clubs, whereas other people are like doing arenas and theaters and stuff.
Yeah. Whatever.
But he, that was like kind of the choice that he made. And, that was one of the things that happens is, but now I like the idea of the anonymity because I like the idea of being able to command more money for shows.
Right.
But the things that I've seen happen with egos or one's own ego, as far as how you have to be in that world of fame and notoriety and popularity, holding on to it again and like wanting to not have, not wanting to fall down, but keep going up. And it's the anguish of that, I think, is too much for me.
Gotcha.
Like right now, I'm very just much enjoying life. I, get recognized-ish, occasionally-ish,
sure.
But I look way different than when I started.
Sure.
All these things, and so my ideas have really shifted, evolved about who I want to be or how I want this to play out.
Right. I also think, in that same note, that when you get, we all have friends in this career that are here, way up top. You know what I mean? And I look at their lifestyle. And I'm like, that doesn't like other than the cool shit they can buy and have around them, it doesn't. It is a bit of frightening feelings in me of like, man, they got to mind their P's and Q's all the time. People are trying to come after them for either their money or to knock their career down or to blank or blank or blank just because they're up here.
Yep.
And it's just like. It's just so
it comes
it's
at
frightening.
A yeah,
it really does. And like all we want to do is just tell jokes and make money.
Yeah.
And then we have to think, well, all right, can I go be seen at this place? Can I go with my friends and go get shit-faced at a bar and not have someone take a picture of me? And
exactly.
That kind of stuff sucks.
Yeah.
So it really is a you kind of have to choose, because if you don't, what may happen is you'll accidentally get there and then you're like, fuck, now I'm screwed. Now I don't want this. And then you get sad and depressed even though you have everything. And then you have maybe like a Robin Williams effect or whatever it is, where you have everything and then you're still just this, I just wanted to just be me and have fun.
Yeah.
Where like Bill Murray, I think that guy just fucking nailed it somehow. Of him not giving a shit and everyone loving the fact that he doesn't give a shit.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's a good point. But it's just a scary, it just is there's no right answer. Mm-hmm. And there's no way to know what's going to do it and what's not. And so, okay. So then you were in LA for 2 years.
2 years.
Doing stuff there, and then you moved to New York. Did something bring you to New York?
Yeah. Well, I was a girl had moved out. My girlfriend, who I was dating before I moved to LA, we'd broken up for a bit. Then we got back together. She moved out with me, and then that living situation lasted for just a touch, and then I was out of a place, and during that time, it was a farting story. It was another farting story, but it's how I got a college agent, and I'm in Vegas. Drove from LA to Vegas with Nick Thune to feature for him at this LA comedy club or something.
Oh yeah, the Stratosphere.
Well, it's not. Yeah, it was in.
It was in a different place.
Yeah, it was in Trader Vic's. Back in the day, Planet Hollywood. It was in that.
Yep.
So we go, I'm featuring for him, and, my dad lives in Vegas at the time. And so we're we buy weed, legal weed in LA to bring to the thing. And we end up getting invited by these guys with some agents. And, who are at the show, but they're just in Las Vegas to gamble on some stuff. But they stop at the show because they're agents and that's all they know, and they know.
And then they can fucking write
Nick.
off a huge chunk of stuff.
Yeah. And then we go to this nightclub after, and one of the guys that we're with, not one of the agents, but one of the guys that we're with, fucking lights up a joint, and starts passing around this joint, and we're like, well, when in Rome, this is how it's going. We're in an after hours exclusive club. Well,
he lit it up in the club.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So the fucking security guards,
as they do,
fucking bum rush us, like come over the thing, and weed's not legal there yet, and
nor is I guess smoking indoors has always been
we
legal.
get taken down to this interrogation room, and Nick's got some other things on him that he doesn't want to get caught. So basically, they're patting me down and asking stuff, and while they're interrogating us, like, they're being distracted with me. Nick kind of takes off his jacket, so they don't check his jacket, and they just find like a little weed pipe. But right when they're like, patting Nick down, I just let out a fart. I just fart in this interrogation room, and then everybody fucking laughs. But one of the agents is in the interrogation room with us. We're all getting in trouble, right? We don't get in trouble, but he remembers me from this, and he sees me perform, and then he's like, oh, and he's a big agent at like I forget, Willie Morris or something, whatever.
Yeah.
But he basically hits me up and is like, hey, I'm dating this woman who's a college agent, and I think you'd be good, and she's looking for people.
Oh, cool.
So then that gets me a college agent, and then I get into some NACAs and start doing that, and I'm in between places in LA living with my aunt and uncle, and then I just start traveling a lot, flying, and I visit my buddy who's living in New York, and I've known him since the 6th grade, so I hang out with him for a while, but then I do some shows in New York, and I feel the electricity of it. I'm like,
it's a fun vibe out there.
And I'm like, maybe now I just moved to New York.
Yeah.
Because it was like I was traveling around doing colleges, and I was like, I want to perform, and I wasn't getting enough stage time or the right type of stage time.
Which is
in LA.
very normal in Los Angeles. It's tough to do more than 3 shows a week.
And there was cool shows, and I was on shows with big people and all the things, but I was just like, well, let me do this for a while, just go with the flow, because I'm a Pisces, and I'd rather just like, oh, it's nicer over here.
That makes total sense.
I'm over here now.
I didn't know you were Pisces. That makes total fucking sense.
I'm Pisces.
Okay. God, Pisces have ruined my life.
Have they?
Yeah.
What's your sign?
I'm a Leo, so fire and water.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, my mom's a Leo, so we get along, but we've never dated, so I don't know.
Fair enough.
But we do go to lunch every
Fair
Friday.
Enough.
We do go to lunch every
Fair
Friday.
enough. So that brought you out to New York. That's okay. That makes a lot of sense. So then you were doing NACAs and shit, because you were in New York for a while.
Yeah, I was in New York for about
7 years?
9 years.
Okay,
yeah.
gotcha.
And I moved back.
And you were in Brooklyn.
I was all over. I lived in Williamsburg, Bushwick, Chelsea, Ridgewood, Queens.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was all over.
And that's the nice thing about comedy is you can literally live anywhere. It does, like, you can live for a while in New York, you can live for a while in LA, you can go to Nashville. I mean, like, once you get kind of your people and established, you can do anything.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. So you were in New York, and then how did the John Oliver, the half, like how did those things come about?
I mean, it was all just
right place, right time. You were just
I think that
groove?
was one of the reasons to like move to New York or LA, is because like if you move to those places and you're wanting to get those opportunities, festivals or late night shows, you're just in places where there's
Seth Meyers,
people.
excuse me, did Seth Meyers as well.
Seth Meyers, Jimmy Kimmel, and Carson Daly in LA.
Yep.
But I got Jimmy Kimmel from Aspen Comedy Festival.
Got it.
And then
was that your first appearance?
Uh-huh.
Was that nerve-wracking?
Absolutely.
Was it really?
Yeah, but it was really cool, and it was it's a short set, so it's very manageable. They give you a teleprompter, so you don't have to fucking forget right then,
Dude, that's my biggest fear of just like, oh God, what did I get approved? Because you got to say the approved set. It's not like you can just do whatever you want.
Yeah, yeah, and those are fun. And I got Carson Daly. I got Carson Daly through Facebook. The booker, who was a young booker and a female booker who had seen me at a show before. Uh-huh. Was like, hey, we had somebody drop out, and it was during the Obama's inauguration.
Yep.
and they're like, yeah, we had a comedian drop out. Well, it was Jeff Dunham, and Jeff Dunham was going to do his Ahmed racist puppet thing, right?
Yep.
And
Yep.
and in fact, he
he
still recorded his set that night. They just didn't air it that night because it was the inauguration.
Right.
So they just it was like that morning. I wake up to a thing. I asked my manager if I should do it because I'm still in that mindset of like, Carson Daly's not the cool one, right?
Right.
But it's fucking money, and I need money.
Yeah.
You know, I end up working at Starbucks because I'm not getting enough gigs. You
Take
know,
the
in
fucking
LA,
gig.
I have major representation, and I got to work at Starbucks, right?
Right.
And so that was also kind of what kind of pushed me to just, I'm fucking have a college agent right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I got that just via that being there, and I got turned on to people at Comedy Central because they would always go to the UCB. There was UCB East, and then there was UCB Chelsea.
Chelsea, right.
And UCB East, there was a lot of showcases.
UCB East, God rest its soul,
Yep.
R.I.P.
R.I.P. And they saw me there, and then they sent me. It was actually a message when I was in LA doing Last Comic Standing. I got the message for John Oliver, and they're like, "Hey, we'd like to offer you a spot on this John Oliver show."
Nice.
And at that time, I did have some other agents theoretically booking me, but they weren't, and they were there when I got the half hour. But I believe I got the half hour because
of the John Oliver.
Because John Oliver and people from Comedy Central then knew me from that.
Yeah.
And then I was able to submit a half hour, and I had a show, luckily, that I was able to do as much time as I wanted on it. Mm-hmm. So I presented.
Was that a cake or where was that one?
That one was at Zerzamine.
Okay.
Zerzamine, it was downstairs. It was this little jazz bar from these people from Austin, and there was another one called Tandem Bar in that was in Bushwick.
Okay.
And that was more of the Brooklyn
Gotcha.
show that I did.
Okay, gotcha.
And I think that was after. I forget. It's all
It
weird.
blurs together.
It's all a
After
blur.
A while. Yeah.
But yeah, I got that, and then after the half hour, they're like, "Oh, you can do a book with us. Let's put your thing out on Comedy Central Records. Get an entertainment lawyer, and all these things." And I've still never made an album because I was like, well, I have this half hour, which is kind of
It's kind of an album of
audio.
itself.
You can get the audio of it, and that was the biggest payday I've ever had.
Oh, cool.
Now they've upped it. What I've heard people say, but like I got. I didn't get it, but $20,000. Oh,
Wow.
$20,000 to do this, but it's a buyout, right? So
Because then they own it forever.
They own it forever, but I do make money off of it when they ever play it on Comedy Central Radio on Sirius XM. That's
Sweet.
because I put it on and
Sound Exchange or whatever?
Yeah, Sound Exchange. Nobody in the business told me about it. It was Louis Katz that told me about Sound Exchange.
Wow.
And so I never, there's these things because they're not going to tell you. Here's how you make money off your stuff.
Of course not.
So
because I don't get to make money on it,
Yeah.
so fuck it. I'm not going to tell you.
Yeah, and so if they re-aired on Comedy Central, which they might have a couple times, but you don't get paid for that. You get a little
Because
bit.
they bought it outright.
Yeah, you get a little bit of bump, but getting on the half hour got me the blue check mark on Twitter.
Gotcha.
Got me a greater amount of followers than I had.
Yeah.
But then again, it's all like, okay, I'm doing these things, but am I writing a book because I really want to write a book,
Or because
they're telling me I should,
Right,
or
right.
same with an album, and I'm, all those things, and they're really fun things, and but just to be an honor and have those things, I feel really lucky because
Mm-hmm.
there's plenty of funny people, super funny people that never get those opportunities,
Yeah.
but now that it's over, it's like, what does it matter?
Sure.
It's cool.
Well,
it's cool, but
it
you
helps
can only
you command more money,
Yeah.
so that's what it really matters.
Yeah, and it gives it a location. I still have a presence on their Comedy Central. I'm still
Right.
one of the Comedy Central comedians. So
you
I
have
can-
a great recorded sound or a half hour to put out into comedy radio and Sirius XM, and all that stuff. Where did you record your half hour?
It was in Boston.
In Boston?
Yeah, at the
How was that experience?
Royal
Like the
Theater.
whole build up to it, because I assume they approve your set,
Yep.
but are they anal about it like they were for late night?
No, not at all.
Okay,
Not
so
at
you
all.
could have riffed in there if you wanted to.
Yeah, and there's stuff that they cut out. There's
Okay.
things that they cut out, and
Did you record a half hour, and then they cut down to 22?
Yeah, because it's commercials and
Right.
stuff.
Okay, so
Yeah,
they
yeah.
you give them about 8 minutes to play with.
Yeah, and maybe even more, but like they definitely, it's like each night it's like two comedians doing a half hour.
Gotcha.
Or maybe even four comedians a
40
night, but
minutes.
each show is two comedians.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but it was really fun. I got to wear a Canadian tuxedo that I got at this sweet ass vintage store in New York. I put together cowboy boots and jean vest, jean shirt, jeans, all the things. And so I got to have some fun with that and choose the color of the background. Like, well, I'm wearing blue, let's make the background red. Like,
oh, that's cool. Okay.
Got to do that. And it was really exciting. Got put up in this sweet ass hotel, the W. And some friends and family flew out to watch it. Some people took train from New York to watch it. Some friends, and it was really fun. But it was like, it was really cool. Yeah, it was an amazing experience, and it felt like, okay, I'm here at this next level.
Yep. They can't take this away from you ever.
Yeah, but then there's there's some people that they're like, well, here's who we're really gonna push and give them the hours, and here's some other things.
Typical comedies, essential shit for sure.
I'm like, I don't know, but it gave me that experience to know that, like, do I want to keep chasing those experiences? Mm-hmm. I still, I got Seth Meyers after that stuff, and Seth Meyers is the last TV set that I got, but I got that without any agent. I got that because I was on, what was that show, that Twitter show that Chris Hardwick did?
At midnight.
So I got on At Midnight, and I was able to do At Midnight a couple times, and I got that through my girlfriend at the time. Was introduced to the booker for that, who ended up becoming the booker for Seth Meyers.
Gotcha.
So I'd already worked with this guy on that, so I was able to, submit a set, and basically he was like, yeah, these jokes are great. He's like, but I just need you to be 15% faster. And I was like, what the fuck does that mean?
It's just because he wants to put his spin on it.
Yeah,
there's like, I got a thing. I was like, okay. This is perfect,
I was like, okay.
I need to have something on here.
Yeah, here. And so I did that. I jumped through those hoops and got it on there. And one of the jokes I wasn't able to do that was originally approved that they like pulled last minute. And
gotcha.
But it was cool. And I was like, I'd always wanted to do it. I'd submitted to Conan still a bunch of times and never made any. But people still like think like, because they don't remember my credits, they'll be like, "Oh, this next guy's been on Conan," because they just think I have. For whatever reason, I'm like, "Fine, who cares?"
Well, because your act kind of fits Conan's vibe. You know what I mean?
I think it would have been a fine.
It would have been a great set.
It would have been great.
Yeah.
But still never got that. So there's always things. But I'm like, why would I want to hoard all these opportunities? There's so many other people that deserve to get their first late night set over me getting my fifth or fourth or whatever. Probably the coolest late night set I ever did, just because it was so random and out of the blue. It was for like the second most popular talk show in Iceland.
Okay.
And I did a comedy festival in Iceland and got it.
Oh, wow.
Got it through a friend who had traveled there, and I just got in this show that like Gabriel Iglesias, Fluffy, right? Mm-hmm. That's Fluffy. He was there, and he's really popular there for some reason. So we performed at
Iceland.
Yeah,
it's probably because, like, man, I bet that guy's always warm.
Yeah. Let's cut him open.
Let's bring him over here.
And they, I did these shows, and my set wasn't great at the shows, but this weird late night set that I did that they were mostly speaking Icelandic on, I get to do an English speaking set because they're all very smart and fucking speak English too.
Gotcha.
So I tried to cater these things, and it wasn't like my best set, but it was just fun to be able to do it. It was like, oh, this is like, it was so surreal.
That's awesome.
And there was this guy that was on like Game of Thrones that was on the show.
Cool.
Dude,
and that's the kind of shit that fucking comedy just opens up for you that you never would have expected. Like, oh, I'm gonna try to go get a festival in Iceland. Like, what? You know? That sounds fucking sweet.
Yeah, it was dope. Those things, and just traveling and being able to see the country or different parts of the world. I toured through South Korea through friends. Like did these things for expats, and so I feel like I've had a pretty fulfilling, rich experience of comedy, and now that I'm doing this, I feel more settled, and I'm not looking to travel. I kind of like having a home base and being able to have something to work toward for the weekends, and ideally
a reason to write every day.
Ideally, I would maybe like once a month go and do a good gig. If that was the thing, I'd be down for that. But definitely being on the road and and living that lifestyle.
It wears you out.
Yeah, I've done it a good amount. Now I've been doing comedy for quite a while.
Yeah.
And so now I'm really enjoying this, and I've been enjoying comedy more in this position, actually able to watch people and enjoy them, because if they're doing good, we're doing good.
Right.
I'm doing good, as opposed to just like it used to just be,
it's all me.
I don't care how the rest of the show was.
Yeah.
You know?
I was the one, so that's all that matters. Yeah.
But like that's like this weird selfish thing that I'm like, you have to go through it, and it's cool to crush.
Yeah.
But it's just fun right now. It's just fun to be able to perform.
Right. Right. Now, I shouldn't ask this because I know that this camera only has X amount of time on that battery, but I am wondering, when you did colleges, because I know your musical act, and you integrate technology. You've evolved as technology's evolved. You went from guitar, and now you do amazing things with your phone.
Just iPhone. Yeah.
Because fuck, what we can do with these phones is stunning, and you're able to do, just some stuff that is very funny and very non-traditional stand-up, right? So, which to me would say, I bet you fucking killed at colleges. Most comics hate colleges, because they're typically the worst gigs. It's like those in corporates are the worst, but the highest paying, best paying.
I was surviving, make the best money doing colleges.
So sure. How was your experience doing colleges? Did you enjoy them?
I did. I mean, I just enjoyed the traveling and seeing new places, and sometimes I'd have really great experiences, but sometimes they'd be really shitty or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Even one time I did a gig at Western Oregon University, and I was on a train from Portland to Seattle, and I got a call from my agent saying that the student organizer, and this is the biggest college I've ever done, or as far as the biggest audience, it was like 1,000 students, and they had 2 interpreters for the deaf and hearing impaired. And
oh wow, that's a big gig.
I brought in this guy to open up for me, just to do a little warm up time, and they didn't want that. Like they've soon after that, or other times they're like, yeah, you don't ask other comedians to do it because we're not representing them, and this is a contract thing.
Gotcha.
But I'm like, well, it just makes my job easier.
Way easier.
Like just to have somebody warm up, and then you get up there and
just not be like, fucking lights on. Okay, here's a comedian.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
So I did this thing, and then she's like, yeah, apparently they've canceled freshman orientation because to provide grief counseling for their students because of some of the things you said. I was like, well, what did they say that I said? And they didn't even cite probably the worst things that I said, but they cited. They said, well, I made fun of some joke. I had a joke about I want to open up a candy store, and I'm going to call it Abraham Lincoln's, and it's going to have a sign on the underneath it says, "We've abolished savory." It's a candy store.
That's a fun joke.
Yeah, it's a fun joke, but just because of the sensitivities of them, because I was bringing it up, that was this thing. But luckily my agent kind of took my side, which you hope to have.
Yeah.
So that's happened, and I've had plenty of those things happen. But some of the shows are really great, and some of them are really left you feeling empty or cold, and it was like whatever,
Wow.
I mean, but yeah, it was great money. I was making, it wasn't the highest in paid, but I was getting flight and stuff paid for. But then to get colleges, you have to play the game, so you have to put money back into NACA,
which is like a $900 thing.
Yeah, at the end of the day, because if you get in, then you have to pay more money to be a part of the booth, and then you have to fly yourself out there and put yourself up. So if you're making money and getting enough colleges, but I was starting to get less and less colleges, and
just didn't feel worth it.
Yeah, and then
I know a lot of comics that are like, I just don't want to do this anymore.
Started faded away, and then and yeah, it was fine because it wasn't something. But there were some people doing so many. They were making 6 figures or 5 figures, 6 figures, whatever.
I feel like those people would be the those corporate comics that are like, yeah, you're making good money, but I don't want to do this. My happiness is more important than my bank account sometimes. So that's awesome.
It's a balance.
So now we're back in Denver. You've been back here for a couple years. You're
Yeah.
running the Denver Comedy Lounge, which is, I feel like the first not real production that you've done, but it's a
official.
financially viable real show.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like doing shows in Brooklyn, from my experience doing shows in Los Angeles, there's no money in there. Despite what I've created here, despite what I've created with Boulder, it is very difficult to recreate Boulder in anywhere else.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Or Denver Comedy Lounge. Like, I feel like there are certain places that you can do that, and then you move to these oversaturated spots, and they're like, well, if you're not the club, then I'll pay maybe $5, if not free.
Yeah.
And then all the fucking comics are like, well, you have to do free shows because no one's going to pay to come. I'm like, why not?
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of these comics aren't good at business, so therefore, like, well, because no one else is charging.
Yeah.
I'm like, all the more reason to charge.
Well, yeah.
Stand out above everyone else.
Yeah.
You know?
And especially now with, I think one, like charging gives, because when we first started doing shows, we didn't charge. We just made them free and kind of asked for donations. But then we were like, actually, you add value to the whole experience of it. And you also kind of can keep out some, it
can keep
makes
out
it riffraff.
yeah, absolutely.
And it keeps it more intentional as far as like people paying to come, and that, because they paid for it, they're a little bit more respectful of it, even though there's still the unpredictable drunkenness that comes along with it.
Especially that comes along with sake.
Yeah.
Holy it's weird how like sake can either fucking fuck you up or not do much.
Yeah.
It's really weird because like
Yeah.
one of my friends left hammered, and then I'm like, I feel like I had 8 of these things, and I feel like I'm pretty good.
Yeah.
So it's funny to see how it affects people.
Yeah, it's a special thing.
Yeah, it really
sure.
is.
But it's that symbiotic relationship where we're lucky to have a place. I've never worked with a bar or a venue that is so supportive and helping out with everything and wanting to make it good because they see the value in it. And I think them seeing the complete value in it and the benefit of having comedy shows go there, it makes it fun. It gives something to associate that place with that's more dynamic than just what they're doing.
Right.
And brings them business. And it's like, so it's really symbiotic, and it's really nice to be able to do it now. And the opportunity literally fell in my lap, and I
took it.
Just started petting it.
Yeah, and that's great.
Started petting it.
And then it got hard. But yeah, it is also too what I think you haven't touched on yet is that you are in a very fortunate place, like literally a location that is perfect for it. Because to me, Rhino, which is like North Denver, like this new developing area of Denver, has so many breweries, distilleries, sake houses.
Yeah.
I guess only one sake house, but so much cool shit going on.
Yeah.
Very walkable area. And the fact that you get 2 shows, you get both the I want to go get drunk beforehand crowd or I want to go get drunk afterwards crowd.
Yep.
And there's something to be said about a location and a supportive venue. And how you've taken that from what it was to what it is to what it's going to be, which I can see where it's going. That's an experience I have a lot of, and you can see where it's going, and it's like, okay, he's doing this the right way, And a lot of comics when they produce shows, they just want to perform. And I know I started out that way with Boulder. I just wanted stage time.
Yeah. And it's your stage. You can do it whenever you want.
Exactly. And so it's nice when that stage time turns into a business, and then you can sit back and appreciate the growth that you've had and kind of maneuver. How are we going to take this to the next level? So it's in a really cool spot, and I'm proud of what you're doing.
Oh, thank you.
It was a very fun show this weekend.
Yeah, I was honored to have you.
It was great.
And it was nice to that you were in town and that it all worked out.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of shows that are happening on Larimer there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And luckily, we kind of solidified the weekend spots because we were doing it. So now the other shows that are popping up are on like Wednesdays or Sundays, things like that. And there's other outdoor shows that are happening that it's hard not to feel a little bit threatened by.
Sure.
But just
Bro,
with
I know that threatening. I know that feeling. Trust me.
But just thinking about like sticking sticking it out and just being like, minding our, keeping our eyes on our own page as far as like, well, we're doing these things, and we have people that are returning every week. There's a group of people there at your show, at the Late Show, that these guys have come to pretty much every show, and they've started to bring their friends. They're like Dave. They're
comedy fans.
Yeah, and they're
That's
comedy
great.
fans. And we've had some other people come, like my friend Renee, Ryan's sister.
Oh yeah.
She's come. She brings her family. She brings her sons and her daughters, and
Yeah.
and so we just those supports that we've been getting, and we know like those super fans that will talk about it, like, and that's the best advertising.
Word of mouth.
The word of mouth.
You
and
can spend all the money you want on Facebook ads.
Yeah.
If you don't have someone saying, "Hey Ben, this show's great. We should probably go to this thing."
Yeah.
It's a lot harder.
Yeah, and we're pretty good with our Googleability and our I try to get like good reviews.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to be active. Like if I'm hosting, I'm like, let's if you guys.
We have like 50, I think, reviews, and you're at like 4.8 stars.
Yeah,
It's
and so we're like the top 3 or 4 at least, behind Comedy Works and Voodoo, or formerly known Voodoo.
Also, rest in peace, kind of.
Uh-huh.
But now too, what a great time to be in this, because these next 6 to 24 months are going to be so crucial for new venues.
Yep.
I mean, with us moving to Rayback, this is the time to make this, to establish. And
Yep.
it's very unfortunate that Comedy Works downtown can't open right now. Very fortunate for you, and I think that you offer a great yang to the yin of Comedy Works. Like there's that if that's the experience you want. And here's this if you want this experience.
Yeah, and we definitely kind of got lucky that they've opened up the South Club, and I wish the downtown club was open, just not because I don't perform there much, or I would occasionally do like Thick Skin and stuff,
Yeah.
but just as a place that's like I want to see that place survive. But the fact that they're not able to be open right now, I think
It's helping.
It's not hurting us.
Yeah, it's definitely not hurting.
and we're at a different level.
Sure.
Sure. But I think our potential and what we're able to do, like I did have a hotel sponsor that we were able to at least,
great.
We weren't able to fly people out, but we were able to put them up.
That's awesome.
And I'm trying to get back to that again, but we lost that sponsorship once all this happened.
Right.
Because
they're not getting any business either. They can't foot the bill anymore.
And it was the easiest thing when I got that, because it was a show when we had shows inside, and it was a lightly attended show. There was maybe 15 people in the show, and so I was very conversational as the host, and kind of like, oh, what do you do? She's like, oh, I work at a hotel. I was like, oh, really? What hotel? Oh, the Hilton Garden Inn Union Station. I was like, oh, you think you'd want to maybe be a sponsor for, and her and her boyfriend were having a good time, and I was just like, kind of joking, half joking.
And then it went through?
And then
no shit.
And then I got this sponsorship. It was like this dope-ass hotel.
That's
right
awesome.
in the mix. And we, they wanted us to advertise for their restaurant, basically, so we kind of put things out about their restaurant that was connected to this thing that was like a legit restaurant. And so we did that for a while. So that just made me realize that sort of thing is possible. Making it happen once, it's a lot easier to make it happen the second time.
Yep.
And now, we can kind of look to that and hopefully start bringing some people in that would be willing to travel, or people that are driving. Like Dave Waite came in not too long ago, and he drove, and he's somebody that I would love to get headlining, but he was just able to be on the shows, and so I'm seeing that, and a lot of people are migrating, right? They're trying to get out of New York and LA.
A lot of
because
people are
like,
doing
what's
that.
the point?
Right.
And
For the next 18 months, it's going to suck
they're
ass
seeing
out there.
things happen in Colorado and Denver, and I think they're like, oh, that would be a place to go. So it's this interesting reversal of fortune. Of like this reverse migration for the purpose of performing.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's there is this huge exodus happening or this big exit happening in Los Angeles right now, and I know Denver too. But that's also cool that you can, because now you got these gigs, you can be like, okay, cool, we can book with these other 4 shows, and then if you want to come out here for a week, we got you'll at least be in a cool hotel for one night, and then you can stay at these person's places, blah blah blah, and it's just Denver has created a good system. We all work together. A lot of people aren't fighting with each other competition-wise. I know that we all have competition. I know that, you know, in Boulder, I got some competition that I did not love, but it's the game.
Yeah.
You know, you can't have it all. If you're in a cool place, you can't be there solo all the time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it kind of is what it is. So, well, that's sweet, Ben. I mean, that's quite a run you've had, and it just keeps going. Now, are you trying to? Are you still fucking around with movies and making films like that, or is it kind of on the back burner while we're doing the Denver Comedy Lounge? What's going on with that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm making things on the phone, and the phone has been a really nice source of, you know, exploring my creativity and just having things at your disposal. Like I'm doing things when I can. I made a music like at the beginning of quarantine. My buddy Adam Baumeister, who he has this company called Meep Records, and where he lathes personalized records for people.
Oh, cool.
He just lives right over here, but he had an album that he made, and then he wanted me to do a music video for it.
Cool.
So I did a quarantine music video that was really fun to do.
Yeah.
You know, I used a lot of found footage, but I used some unique stuff, and it gave me a thing. And then, you know, I've done a couple other, you know, smaller projects like that, but my main side hustle that I've been trying to do concurrently is this project called Soundfart. So I have soundfart.com, and it's basically like, so I've made some songs for like podcasts or for web series theme songs and stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to like build that into like a little business for
cool.
royalty-free music you can use. So if you have a song that you like that you would want to use for your podcast, but you can't get the rights to it, I can listen to the song and kind of make something of a similar vibe.
Interesting.
And definitely works easier, but I made Andy Main's.
We should get you to make a song for this one.
Oh, heck yeah.
Fucking A.
It'd be my honor.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, so I've been doing that, and I haven't been super active with that. I've just been kind of like, whenever I see somebody being like, hey, does anybody know where I could get somebody that makes music? And I try to jump on it, you know?
Yeah.
And I try to make it like affordable and cool, but still worth it to do it.
Yeah.
And so that's been fun, and I've been playing in a band. That was kind of what kept me here, honestly, was playing in this band, and it's a more serious project, but it's really fun just collaborating with people and like being in this space that, you know, just like, I don't know, it's a different thing, but I like that vibe.
Nice.
We did play one show last year, a year ago in July. We played our first and only show for Abby Jane Palmer's birthday party at the Lions Lair. So it's kind of cool to have my first band show be at one of the places that I first performed at comedy.
Yeah. With people you love, too.
Yeah, with people I love.
That's cool. Now, if our fans want to follow you, what are your preferred methods of following? And I am realizing that I don't use these.
No, I love the hairs.
I don't use these very often. I think my cat hair is all over this shit.
It gives me something to do. Yeah, I mean, you could at Ben Kronberg for Instagram. I mean, Instagram is where I kind of just promote for shows and things. I occasionally try to put some creative things out there, but
are you still pretty active on Twitter?
No, I was locked out of my Twitter for the longest time, and I had so many Twitter followers from, you know, I mean, I had not so many, but like 11,000, right?
Yeah.
Or 12,000 or something. I recently got back into it, but instead of making a Twitter account for the Denver Comedy Lounge, I just made that the Denver Comedy Lounge one.
Oh, okay. That's cool. All right.
So now the Denver Comedy Lounge has
12,000 followers. That's pretty sweet.
That's however that quantifies, but yeah, I tweet occasionally, but I don't like the arguments on it.
I've had to take a lot of social media off. It's just too much.
Yes.
Because it got to the point past couple weeks before I did take it off. I'm spending like 3 hours in bed before I get out of bed, just fucking around on the phone.
Yeah.
And it's just not worth it. So
yeah, it's
cool.
not. But yeah, just anywhere at Ben Kronberg.
Cool.
You know, definitely the Denver Comedy Lounge.
So that's Friday, Saturday night.
Friday and Saturday nights, 2 shows each night.
Cool.
Yeah, and we're trying to keep that. Like I was, you know, they were wanting to be like, let's add more shows. You know, do you want to do a Thursday and or a Sunday? And I'm like, well, was like, that would be all right, but I would rather just load it into the nights that we're already doing it, because we have to do a lot of setup and breakdown for that space, because it's an alleyway that needs to be an alleyway during the day.
Right.
But we put lights, we do chairs,
you got a backdrop, you got a stage, you got speakers,
which I love. I love the physical labor of setting it up, and it's a nice meditation to do before and after.
That makes one of us. I fucking hate setting. I'm all sweaty when the show starts. I gotta stand in the beer cooler.
Well, I get there plenty early to where I can, I take off all the shirts. I just wear the wife beater. And get it set up. I didn't think that I would like that part of it, but I don't know why I like that part of it. I mean, it's nice having just things set up, and when we were inside, everything was just there. Yeah. And but to do it and to put that effort and energy into it, I think just helps me kind of have more pride in it, Mm-hmm. Like, I could definitely hire some people to do these things. Yeah. But then what would I be doing while they're doing those things? Like, honestly.
Another good point.
They're picking the next song on the
and then you just and then you're just wait. So I'm spending money just to stand here and watch them do it? Yeah. Might as well just do it myself. Yeah. But again, it builds that pride in your show.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I was never a bed maker, but now I love making a bed in the morning.
Is it because you're accomplishing something to get your day started?
Kind of, yeah.
Okay. I mean, or is it more of the satisfaction of when you come back to the bed, it's nice and made?
I mean, I always told myself that a messy bed looked more sleepable than a made bed. Like, it looks more comfy. You can see the natural flow of the sheets and the comforter that are there, and the head impressions in the pillow that kind of are enticing, seductive. Yeah. But I mean, yeah, I mean, the bed that I make is for many reasons, I suppose. But it's nice to do it. It's nice to have a little bit of some positive habits. Right. Yeah. I love cooking. I love doing the dishes. I don't mind doing the dishes.
Boy, we couldn't be more opposite. Fire and water, I guess. Pisces and Leo.
I didn't know. I mean, I didn't always, but I like it, and yeah.
Ben Kronberg, everybody, please make sure you check him out at Ben Kronberg, and make sure you check out his productions on Friday and Saturday nights at the Denver Comedy Lounge. And don't forget, new podcasts come out every Wednesday. And don't forget to check out our sweet Boulder Comedy Show merch, which is available on our store. And our live show returns to the Rayback Collective October 11th. That's 2 weeks from this recording. Ooh. October 11th at the Rayback Collective.
10-11.
10-11. It's better than the other one.
It's better than the other.
It's better than the previous month. And so thanks again for tuning in. We'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.